Welcome to Raging Recaps. Sit back, relax, grab a drink as we tell you some of our stories.
Hi there and welcome to Raging Recaps, where we take a look back at the Raging Roll's latest session, where we dive into Waterdeep, Dragon Heist. Firstly, a couple of announcements. Mark, something you wanted to announce?
So we are planning our next giveaway at the 150 follower mark is when we will reach out to one of our sponsors and have a little package drawn up for some sort of giveaway. We're edging closer and closer to that mark. I think we've got about 50 people to go. So hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, and you could be in the draw. We've also got some merch up. We have a store. It's official. Starting off fairly basic at the moment. We've got some t-shirts, we've got some hoodies and hats, and they tend to all feature the Raging Rolls logo, the Angry Man. You see that all over our stream. So if you want to help support the stream, help us create some more content as well, by all means, jump on our store. We rage, we roll, we rarely check for traps.
It's very true. We rarely check for traps. A couple more things to announce. Just want to throw a shout out to Beyond Blue. It's no surprise we're in pretty average times around the world right now, which has many people feeling certain things they've never experienced before. If you need to talk to someone feeling some anxiety, depression, or just things which aren't nice and not normal, Beyond Blue are there to help. You can reach them at beyondblue.org.au, or if you can support them in any way by donating some funds, please head there also. But on that note, October coming up is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we at Raging Rolls are going to make this a little bit fun and raise some additional funds for Beyond Blue with your support. We have a couple of sponsors on board, such that anytime a Rager rolls a natural 20, we have two sponsors, ArcanaCast and Geekdom. ArcanaCast, you can find them at etsy.com/shop/ArcanaCast, and Geekdom, you can find them at Geekdom, that's GEEKDOM.shop. They will both be donating $20 a piece for any natural 20s any Rager rolls during October in any session. However, there's a catch. Anytime a Rager rolls a natural 1, that player will be donating $20 out of their own pocket. So we are hoping to reach whatever funds we can donate to Beyond Blue through October, through Mental Health Awareness Month. It's going to be good fun. We also have one extra kicker there. We're partnering up with Miniature Hub, and you can find them at miniaturehub.com.au, where we'll be running a silent auction throughout the month of October for some pretty sweet gear from them. Stay tuned to our socials and our Discord for details on that coming up very soon. Additionally, it's also September with Twitch, which means you get a bit of a discount on any subscription you want to make to the Raging Rolls or any streamer of your choice. We at the Raging Rolls want to make sure that we're also donating part of that to Beyond Blue. So anything that comes through to us as part of that, your subscription, will make its way to Beyond Blue and help those people in need. Whew. All right, I think that's all the announcements.
The end of our Raising Rolls initiative.
That's it. Raising Awareness Rolls. All right, let's go have a look back at our previous session. Session 12 was it, of Waterdeep. It seems like we've been playing Waterdeep for quite a while now, given we had been throwing in a lot of one-shots, battle arenas, acquisitions here and there.
It's got to be coming up on 9 months.
It does. We started in December or January or something. Wow.
Yeah. So we're about 12 sessions deep in Waterdeep. And I've kind of got Ink and arenas probably... I've numbered them funny, so I can't actually tell. 7 Ack Inks, a bunch of arenas, Death House, the 3-part one-shot.
The 3-shot one-shot. Yeah, good fun.
3-shot one-shot.
Just
With the optional to continue.
yeah, just leaving that thread hanging there, DM advantageous, just leaving us hanging. Mark, just on all those different campaigns you just mentioned, how have you found the change up to now pretty much just exclusively focusing on Waterdeep for the most part?
I'm enjoying it. It's taken me a little while to figure Claymore out. When we all started coming up with backstories and things like that, look, at the end of the day, we as a group have only just come together. We've got a bunch of characters that everyone's gone and crafted themselves. They've all got their backstories, and then we're on a I'd say paint by numbers style campaign. So there is an awkwardness to it where you go, I've got my character backstory. We are really planning on completing that Waterdeep Dragon Heist module. But I think now that we're starting to make our way through it, I know in the background we've got quite a few people starting to, I'd say, expose the threads of where their backstories might start to come into play. And I think there's going to be some interesting things in the future about how do we take those threads that are open now, or what ones can we create along the way, and start pulling on those to start telling the next set of stories and where they might take us. So a good example for Claymore himself is very little of his story actually resides in Waterdeep. It was always a bit of an unknown. The plan, or at least the backstory, was potentially going to involve wandering from town to town to town, fulfilling that. So that might not always be possible. We're also looking at Robin, the DM of Doom's upcoming homebrew world, and looking to finish the Waterdeep story at some point as well. So, for example, then I think Claymore's story might not have that long meandering go from town to town to town. We might need to look to condense that a little bit. So yeah, look, that's where my head is at in terms of that, and I think there's some interesting party dynamics at the moment that we might be able to feed off of, where people can help someone else out to further their story. We've got a couple of things in the air. We've got a couple of people affiliated with guilds.
Yeah.
With this demon thing that holds power over people and children, whether they can be attacked. I think fairly early on we've been advised or given stern warning that, hey, you might be playing out of your depth there. So yeah, we might not be able to go on the offense. So that's an interesting thread where we might be able to tap that for some dark deals or side quests. But
Yeah.
there might be story avenues there that don't simply involve our usual MO of I hit it on the head until it dies.
Which is certainly how we started out this whole endeavor, right? It was like, let's go bash the shit out of whatever we come across.
That's what happened with Xanathar, and that still could have resulted in a complete TPK.
Oh, it could have gone south so quickly.
Like Ren being called out in the open, that, and then having I forget the name of the spell or the ray, but disintegrate.
Yeah.
Like that's a game over style play there.
I was so lucky. Ren had 2 hit points left. Otherwise, it was game over. Absolutely, in next to no time.
How's Ren feeling about that coming so close and knowing that one was that's the Dark Oblivion. That's the do not pass go, do not collect $200. No amount of diamonds is going to bring you back.
Yeah, good question. I think she's probably going to be a little bit less cocky and arrogant and more willing to accept more help. Yeah. I think there was too much like, I've got this, I just loose a few arrows, it'll be fine, without fully appreciating the weight behind a beholder. What did Robin end up saying? It was a challenge rating 13. Ren was not anticipating something at that level to then come at her with such force.
And
pretty much.
To our discredit, we also just ran headlong into that.
We did.
And it was essentially what do we want to call it? Like a death corridor. There was very little going on that allowed us the maneuverability to get around. But a couple of buildings on our side.
Yeah.
I think most of us were huddled in the bottom left of the map, and Ren's caught exposed. I think it's Zim there as well, from memory. But yeah, that was just not working in our favour at all.
Yeah, we were talking about it last week, just the fact that map that Robin just quickly threw together, DM of Doom Robin, is just a funnel of pain. There was just no escape out of that at all. But unless you throw a hasted barbarian at it and just destroy the beholder. Which brought us back to the Winchester. Now, no Xanathar. Healthy party. No one got even on death saves, I don't think.
Yeah. Again, that could have gone so wrong. You know, the wisecracking, fast-talking barbarian with a mouth that doesn't know when to keep itself shut.
Oh, yeah.
I could have opened up a world of hurt with the Waterdeep Popo.
Anytime we encounter any other NPC, it's always like, oh shit, what's Beowulf going to say now that's going to get us in strife?
I do like now that I think there's a couple of people with something like the hold person or a command or a... We may have to use some of our own stuff in anger
against but it's almost like it's almost like I wonder what he's going to say next. Just let it go, and then if shit hits the fan, shit hits the fan. But speaking of shit and hit the fan, shit hitting the fan, I feel like there's a massive Pandora's box that has been opened with the discovery of this letter for Saraya. I never know whether it's Saria or Saraya. What were your thoughts on when we discovered this random letter at the Winchester?
I'm trying to remember how it first appeared. Did we all go for drinks and then went to bed? And
no.
So came down the following morning?
It was the night we just finished dealing with Xanathar and the guards. Went back to the Winchester to sink a few and celebrate. And we then noticed this letter on the bench. No one ever questioned how it got there in hindsight, but now there was a letter on the bench sealed with what was it, a golden claw or some kind?
A crest with 3 clawed foot.
3 clawed foot. Yeah. I can't remember.
And look, when we're not home, Dennis doesn't appear to be the most reliable housekeep, so...
No. He's useless. He's good at pouring drinks and hiding stuff, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Did we...
anyone could have left a note behind. We've got no idea who did that.
Did we end up fitting the eye into the stone? I can't remember. Should know that.
Was that when we bamfed?
No.
Someone put the eye in the stone and then... I can't remember.
I don't think so. We did it because there were 2 things were separate. The stone was still at the Winchester. We had the eye. Maybe we brought it back, put it in, and then went and sorted out Xanathar. Anyway, we had the stone. We had 1 eye of 3. We found a letter for Saraya, which we discovered was from her parents. I remember
saying, you're not ready for the adventure. Come home.
Yeah.
We'll look after you. It's the wrong call to arms. If you're looking to get through to Soraya, telling her that she's not ready for adventure yet, that's a red flag to a bull.
Yeah, I agree.
I was very keen on seeing how that played out.
Yeah.
But I think the hook that was in there was basically we've got some info. I think Soraya herself really not keen on going home. The rest of the party kind of like, this needs to happen.
Yeah.
We don't know where to go next. We're on the clock.
Yeah.
It was just that thread that I think everyone else went, no, this is happening. It's time to come see Mom or Moms.
Mums, 2 mums. Yeah, that was another spanner. I thought it was quite fairly interesting when Ren took it the ladder up to Soraya. How much did she just didn't want a bar of it? Soraya just did not want. It felt like there was something way more dramatic in the background there than just that. Well, the impression that I got was that she felt caged, but like for something that extreme, that kind of split to happen, it feels like there's more to that story that we haven't seen
yet. Yeah. And we all know she wants to make a name for herself. So definitely don't want to be resting on the moms for, resting on their laurels and their fame. It's the Soraya show.
Yes.
And
absolutely is. She really needs to make a name for herself.
Yeah.
Were you? What was Claymore thinking about this letter? What was Clay thinking? Just there's an opportunity here to go and source more information about the next eye, or was it like this might be a trap of some kind?
It didn't feel like a trap because the coin seemed familiar at least to Soraya. And I think we were inside checking that, but the vibe we were getting is like, this is your ticket home. This is an invitation to come home. It didn't feel loaded in that regard. It felt like the family dynamics is what's going to be the problem there.
Mm-hmm.
And look, we've got a couple of leads at the moment, but having someone basically say we've got some info, we've got to pursue that at this point. There's a couple of lives on the line. We've just got to follow it through.
Yeah, if they were definitely willing to offer up information to help us, which is interesting given we're, as a group, got a massive target on our back from a bunch of different underworld groups. We'll take whatever we can get, but I think with a healthy bit of caution, like why are they helping us? Is it just because they're Soraya's parents, or have they got something more closer to home at stake? What's in it for them apart from putting their... Here's a question: why would they give this information knowing Soraya is with us and therefore put her and the whole party in more danger? What's their motives?
And look, I must admit, when bamfing forward probably half the session, when it comes time to family feed time, and then all of a sudden it's a lamb for us and a lamb for you. That was very little up until that point was Claymore unsettled about anything or worried, but all of a sudden, this is our food and this is your food, was like, then I could actually imagine they've invited us here, the entire party. We've basically railroaded Soraya to come because we want more info. She doesn't want to go, her family dynamic getting in the way. And they poison us all. Mm-hmm. And she's then back home again, safe and sound, and not traipsing off with adventurers again. That's where my head suddenly was at. It was like, hang on, is this really safe? Couple of insight checks seemed to not reveal anything foul afoot. And I really wanted to make sure then that, okay, Claymore was going to be the one who takes the first bite. Not so that he gets poisoned, but it's I'm sorry if I've caused any sort of offence. Because I think it was noticed. If it wasn't noticed, I might not have made such a big deal about it, but I think someone picked up on the insight check or that I was a bit suspicious about it.
Mm-hmm.
But felt that it should be met with I will take the very visible, everything is safe, we're in good company.
Yeah, that was
But until that point... Yeah, until that point, never felt unsafe. It was just all a bit...
It's
overwhelming. Everything was shiny and...
Yeah, it's not an accident that we just don't check for traps often, right? That could have been a massive trap, an ambush. It could have been anything. But we'll just go.
We were just all a bit taken aback by the family manor villa thing. Like, all of a sudden, we're just greeted with these stunning surrounds. We go through a waterfall.
Fantastic.
There was a waterfall involved. But yes, one mom is a operatic singer.
I thought that was great.
There's gold everywhere. There's dragons on pedestals. There's a lot to take in, and I don't think anyone was kind of expecting that.
Yeah. So just to recap, we got this letter from Soraya for Soraya. It included a gold coin, not a standard coin, a special coin inside the envelope. Which, when Soraya knew what to do with it, it basically bamfed us over to her house. We ended up walking through and having a lovely conversation with her two mums.
Not so fast. Not before Sticky Fingers ran.
I tried. We tried. I don't know if I actually got any. I don't think DM and Doom was too keen on me just stealing more shit. We did try though, Clay. We did try. There was the...
Oh, that was later as well. You got sticky fingered twice. So the first time you tried to pilfer the coin out of the envelope.
Yep, I got that. No worries.
What was going through Ren's head as was it just a specific shiny? Was it actually this is a thing of power?
A little bit of both. Like the fact that this is not a standard coin. Why is it in here? I'm going to hold on to this until at least I know more about what's going on, rather than just hand everything over to Soraya. So at least there was a bit of an insurance policy. But you're right. Ren is quite taken by shiny things, and this being a fairly unique coin, it could have fetched a fair bit of gold if potentially. I imagine it would have. If I had given the chance to sell it. But at the end of the day, it's just now an impulse to steal shiny things. Because why not?
Ren the klepto. But yeah, I think Claymore's motive is when we were actually in the villa. And there were a bunch I wasn't sure if the gold coins lying about all over the place were of a similar design. Like, is that a repeat ticket home? If we pocketed a bunch of those, is that our ability to bamf here at will whenever we want, rather than having to be summoned? Or it just gave us a little bit of control. That's very little about that was like, ooh, go hoard the shiny thing. It was, this is a one-way flight or two-way return flight.
That's half the reason.
Actually, how did we get out? Are these one-way tickets or?
We were given a few more coins, and then I think they disappear once you end up where you're going. So we'd need 2 to make a return trip. But that's half the reason why I wanted to grab some of these things, because they get you out of a tough situation pretty easily. Right?
That's true, yeah.
How they work, you can either jump back to this house, or if it's potentially you can jumps you anywhere you can imagine or picture or something, then that's...
As the DM thought this through.
Yeah.
mid-encounter, it's not going our way. We're like, back to Soraya.
I'll need to double check how many I've acquired, if any. Yeah.
Yeah.
Handy things. But Clay, you mentioned your Mark, you mentioned Clay as a man of suspicion and was very suspicious of Soraya's parents. But what was to go with the guy that greeted us or came into the Winchester before we left to go to Soraya's parents?
Oh, the self-proclaimed PI detective. I live just around the corner. Let's build a relation. It just, that stank of, I know you've got something of value like this, the stone and one of the eyes. Like, it just seemed a little bit too. I'm just here. I wrote it down. Mainly a warning now that we're infamous. That's all he brought to the table. It didn't feel right. It seems like he was there to get more out of us than we got from him. We got very little information, and I know it's become a bit of a running joke for the Claymore cast compelled duel, but in my head, at least headcanon, Claymore is a relatively what's the word? Intimidating figure. There's not charisma in the way of a bard would have charisma. He's a paladin in a degree of armor, and I think his dark past doesn't afford him much. He doesn't trust a lot of people. And so he does lean on the intimidation crutch a little bit when he needs to. And one of the ways of, I think, forcing that intimidation is through the compelled duel. That people don't necessarily know what they've got themselves into, but I've got a feeling that they're suddenly frightfully afraid of me, feel compelled to grab the nearest melee weapon to them and almost try and enter a barroom brawl. And for Claymore, there's no intent on ever following this through. But it's to have that sort of one-on-one conversation where it's the two people circling each other. And Clay's got a relatively high armor class, so if someone starts swinging, for most of the interactions, particularly if they're a nothing NPC, they're going to be rolling pretty high in order to hit an AC of 19. So for most of the time, it's Clay just sort of playing and parrying and dodging, and while the other party is just drawn into this fight and using that sort of circling as, let's see what information I can get out of you while you're in this sort of terrified state. It's a bit of a dick move. It's a bit of a power play. But I like the drama to a degree.
Yeah.
And then I think when we get that little bit of information, we can drop compelled duel. The catch of that is that most people never want to see us again. Just bolt. So we've done it to a reporter. We've got a lovely non-write-up in the Waterdeep Times. I think Red Helm or Jason had to pay a hefty sum for a please don't say anything negative about the Winchester, and we got a full-page spread ad that said nothing. That was our write-up. There was nothing positive to say.
When I picture Glay doing a compelled duel, I just picture him, getting up from the table, walking over to the other guy all smug, and just a massive glove slap. Compel you to a duel with a slap to the face with a glove. And twice, the two NPCs that
less about that and more that he'll just sort of stand up, ready himself, cast it, and the other guy is all of a sudden just drawn into it. It's unavoidable. And then it's just this toying behaviour. See if we can get any useful information out of it. Because the guy we tried a little bit. I don't think we were getting far with him. He wasn't bringing anything of value. And it's kind of like, don't waste our time otherwise.
Yeah. You were just like, okay, we're done with this. We've got things to do. We're out.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to partner. I don't think he was saying, I've got some more information about where your next lead could be. I'm like, no, you're getting more, attempting to get more out of this than I think we're getting out of you. So don't come back, please.
Do you think that the conversation was too many of the party and that guy dodging questions and dodging answers was too much, not enough directness in that conversation? I feel like some of these conversations with NPCs is too much trying to ask the question sideways rather than just directly. Like, what are you doing here? And they never give us a straight answer. I know Robin, DM of Doom, will keep saying, I'm only trying to help. It's like, really?
Don't murder
really?
me, players.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, the intimidation was the more direct route. Just to see if you could get that more solid information. And look, it's not going to be something we try every time.
No.
and it not wastes a spell slot, but particularly before we're about to do anything, just got to be careful about, okay, well, I'm just going to compel duel for you and you and you.
And you can fight, and you can fight. But there's other ways which Bear has discovered to encourage information or alignment with people. As he had no shortage of trying out his charisma on Soraya's mums. Really keen after Beowulf caught his what they look like. He was very keen to put all the smooth moves on.
Do you want to break it to him that it's not going to work?
Yeah,
I don't want to break it. It might just be the ocean dashing itself against the rocks. I could happily watch that for hours.
Oh, it's fantastic. It is how you just can't picture a more sleazy bogan having a go at whoever walks past. And he does it so well. So smooth.
Especially one that thinks he's king shit right now.
Oh, the untouchable.
The royalty. I genuinely do want to make him a badge that says, Waterdeep's #1 Beholder Slayer.
Oh, that.
It'll be a big thing that he's going to wear on the stream.
Given you can create custom merch in our merch store, I reckon we make it for him and ship it to him. Beholder Slayer, the king.
Waterdeep's #1 Beholder Slayer.
Excellent.
He also got to try out his boomstick a bit.
Indeed.
That was interesting to see what it can and can't do.
Did he have a limited number of shots on that shotgun? Or was it unlimited?
No, I think it ended up being Arcana based.
Right.
But there was some weirdness about range and the cone, and he hip fired it, had to two-hand it. It'll be interesting to see how that comes into play. And I don't think it's going to be something that you can rely upon. But when it goes off, when it hits something...
Beowulf is now becoming Duke Nukem.
Doom guy.
Doom guy, Duke Nukem, whatever. But yeah, just rocking around with insults and shotguns.
He's gonna get into trouble. But look, I think there's an interesting thread there where I think he's got some connections through to, I think it's the underworld, or one of the underworlds, or a guild. I can't quite remember what that is, but there's some we might have to go down that path for some more information digging, or I mean that could be future story threads that we pull on that to leverage those relationships a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots we can explore with his backstory and Red's backstory as well, for sure, to try and find these stones. Just wanted to bring it back to Soraya's parentage. I know she had a bit of a slip up at the end of our stream, but did you pick up on any clue? I know you said you were not certain or not comfortable there was a second meal for her parents and the rest of us, and it was a bit of a risk of being poisoned. Do you have any other inkling?
No.
Not metagaming on what's going on?
Hindsight is 2020. I think there were a few little things sprinkled into those instructions. And I think Claymore in particular was being a little bit obtuse to them. So only when did things slip at the end of the stream that a bunch of things suddenly fell into place. Like, actually, there were quite a number of warning signs. Just, a few little things sprinkled into the villa.
Yeah, there really was. In hindsight, you can kind of pick up things,
I wouldn't mind rewatching it and actually see how many subtle things there were. Because there's the ones that I'm now aware of, are the ones that stand out to me. And I don't know how much we're going down the spoilery repeat path.
Yeah, we don't want to give too much away.
Features and architecture of the house and...
I mean, should you want to catch up or find out what we're talking about and all these clues in the house, the session will be live on our YouTube if it's not already, probably shortly. But yes, there are many a subtle clue in our wander and looking around in Soraya's parents' house as to what's going on there.
What's funny is I almost want to... We almost need Robin's recaps at some point for little things like, here's these little hints along the way throughout the story that you guys have been completely oblivious to picking up. What were the things that were completely thrown in our face that people ran with or didn't? And I think it might have been last week or the week before, where he was saying he's put something in there expecting someone to go for it, and someone else has seen value in that and sort of not leapfrogged it, but it ends up being he doesn't know where it's going to go all of a sudden when person B shows an interest, and now it's a curveball for, oh god, okay, person B has an interest in it. What's their relation to it? What do they see in it? Where could this go? Where it's just handed you a MacGuffin for person A to take this and run with it.
Do you imagine, like we were talking about before, session 12, it's taken us 9 months or so to get to this point. If we picked up on every one of his little breadcrumbs, we'd still be way back.
I'll admit, the one that's standing out to me, and I think I was alluding to it in the last stream, was we have a question mark over Bragan Darth, the crime family organization of Drow. And it's been a little while since we had a run-in with them, but we were down at the docks, and one run-in, someone had a sack. And that's just
Someone got attacked.
Someone had a sack.
A stack.
Sack. A bag.
A bag. Sack. Right, yep.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's just false memories or whatever. I have to rewatch it. But to me, that might be the story thread, the lead that we have, that there's something of value hidden in a sack, is at one of the other eyes. And we didn't know about the, oh, maybe we didn't know about the eyes, but at the time, like, that wasn't important. Or they got away, or but that could easily be something from our past that was right there out in the open, and we didn't seize on it.
It's a fair point.
It's really the only one that it's the one that's standing out as a possibly go revisit.
So you want to go back and check the sack?
I think let's go punch a drow.
Punch a drow
See what
in
they
the
know.
sack. We finished that last session. Oh no, we didn't. Did we? With a bit more of a heart-to-heart between Soraya and Ren, and now Ren basically being adopted as a sister of Soraya into this family that she doesn't seem to be wanting to be a part of. But, the question came in on the chat: how does Ren feel now she has a sister? And I don't think Ren quite knows how to feel just yet, having never had family before. And it'll be interesting to see how that develops. You know, is it something she really grabs onto, or is it something she just like, pays no real regard to?
Is it the thing that she's always wanted but doesn't know? Because you were kind of discarded, weren't you?
Yeah.
Like, do you trade families? Do you?
Yeah.
Unless you're born into a family, can you just be welcomed into one, and then I get welcomed into another, and I'm everyone's daughter, but no one's at the same time.
It's very true. I don't think Ren quite understands how to approach that just yet. Like you said, having been discarded when she was much younger, so having never known family, only known a carer, which might come out a little bit later in more detail. But it's good to know there's people looking out for her. I think Ren feels like she's a bit less on her own right now.
That was a big thing for, I think, the Claymore this episode. There was one word that stood out in the letter. And I forget the full context of it, but it was basically Soraya's parents reminding her that she's not invincible. Go do your adventuring things, but at the end of the day, you're not invincible, and that's very common things for parents to say. But don't know why, and if it was the the session before with Xanathar and Ren nearly getting blasted to oblivion, just Claymore had a moment of just a reminder: you're not invisible. You're not invincible. You're not invincible. All of you are not invincible. Rod, Beowulf, you are not invincible. You are Waterdeep's #1 Beholder Slayer, but let's not rely on these sorts of rush tactics or being caught in the open, or it just goes to show that one fight can go horribly wrong, and if we're not prepared for it, you end up with a disintegration rate of the face, and that's it. And I don't know if part of that is with Claymore and the paladin lay on hands paramedic style. Like, I can get you up on your feet to a degree if I'm there and in the right place and positioned correctly. But there's also things like being caught out in the open with someone like Xanathar that just goes, anyone who's going to make a play for that open space, you're next. So Claymore's formed an attachment to these people and doesn't want to be just in that position constantly bringing people back from the brink, because if we play that style, we're going to lose that.
Yep.
We will lose eventually, which means someone draws a new character sheet up. I think that word invincible in the letter just hit home hard. and he needed to step in and have a little bit of a dad chat. Even though I don't think he's that much. I think he's 26 from memory, but it was a don't be careless, don't be reckless. He's shaken by the Xanathar attack, and as much as we think we got this, there's always something out there that can take us by surprise.
It's so true. I think as a party we're a little bit more having defeated that, but only just. Hopefully, we're all a bit more wary and cautious going into whatever comes next, and not just like, oh, there's an explosion, let's go check that shit out. Like, maybe think about things a little bit more instead of just charging off into the unknown. But yeah, maybe Clay is now the voice of reason and sanity, trying to stop the king from charging off.
Well, Claymore, he's got his backstory. He's got shit to do. It doesn't necessarily involve Waterdeep and dragons, dragoons rather. It's the current arc for him, but he has an agenda. He's looking to benefit off of other people to further that agenda, and a party of adventurers will absolutely help with that. But he hates the idea that one of these adventures could mean an early end for someone, and even though it's within his power to bring someone back if need be, there might always be maybe not back, but if they're, say, rolling death saves, a quick lay on hands will. Because there's quite a pool there. It's 5 hit points per paladin level. I'll need to double check that, but yeah, I'm sitting on a pool of like 25 HP that I can choose specifically. I can bounce you back 1, and you're on your feet. You GTFO, go hide in the corner till this is done. Or can also be like, here's the whole 25, get back on your feet and get back out there, son.
Right, I haven't realised that. So you can just you have a little bit.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
This is typically where I think your paladins aren't necessarily your full-blown healer class. They are your paramedics. They get in there, they stabilize. They can get you up and running again, but they can't do the full-blown like mass style. And they've got to be within contact. So if you're not careful, you are zooming all over the battlefield trying to restore people if it's going particularly south.
This is probably a good moment to pivot into our next bit of little bugs flying around my head. The session, dungeon mastering, and all things to do with managing a campaign, managing a player. One of the questions we got through the week was, what should you expect when entering or joining a group or starting a new campaign? What does a session 0 look like? And this came from one of our members in Discord. So Discord is a place to be. I've put the link in the chat. You're welcome to come and join us and become a rager. When we had our session 0 for Waterdeep, Mark, what were you anticipating, and what did you think of that experience? If you can remember it? We're at like a game shop somewhere, crowded around a little table.
Hornsby, was that session 0, or was that just meet and greet Robin? He had some cool tile pieces.
No, so we
was that a one shot, or was it the session 0?
The one at the pub was a one shot, and then at one of the game shops, it was session 0. And a little bit, we started the campaign a little bit, but there was a lot of, rolling for stats and making sure DM had our backstories and it all kind of worked okay.
Yeah.
I'm pushing the memory here.
Yeah, this is where it gets a bit fuzzy. I'm confusing the Akink session 1.
Okay, well, let's think about Akink session 0 then.
Yeah. No, I'm happy with Waterdeep Session 0, because I think that at that point there were a bunch of people that we hadn't necessarily met, and we were rolling. There were a lot of newbie questions being asked at the table. I think we had a lot of the basics down pat, but or at least the mechanics, but not necessarily the character creation and the different methodologies you can use for that, the different choices that. I don't think it was obvious to everyone that certain classes will benefit from something being their preferred stat versus their dump stat. Whether people were playing like a min-maxing style, or this is exactly the type of person I want to be, therefore I'm going to absolutely maximize these sets of scores and I will dump the rest, or smattering of everything in between.
When you were figuring out, like designing Claymore as a paladin, had you thought about his whole path, or just what does level 1 and 2 look like, say?
So I actually took Claymore to a Roll20 one-shot online with a group that I think they were going to attempt to play weekly. I think they were all uni kids, and therefore once we maybe got 2 sessions in, and then exams hit, and it became too much for quite a lot of them, included the DM included. So that died. But Claymore was always the guy with the dark past, the sister story, and a little bit of vagueness there. I had a vision of him being more of a somewhat basing him off of Constantine.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the idea of like the reliquary store of one-time use magical items. So I wasn't fixated on the paladin bit, but he was someone that would be moving from town to town, acquiring one like single-use style magic shit. Hands in jars that could be, I don't know, thrown, or crossbows that are designed in the shape of a crucifix kind of thing.
So you led
the feedback I got was that was a little bit too OP. So I think that was more from the first session. I think Robin then suggested potentially Artificer as a class, so that you, rather than going and buying these, and I think it was a little bit too OP to have someone from the outset have magical items. But the view was, I had to counter that with a little bit of, he's not going to have swords and things like that. These are the weapons he brings to the battle, and they're there for flavor. They'll end up doing just like the 1d6 style damage, but it's a whole bunch of expendable stuff. It's basically like a spell slot. So I think I was trying to bastardize the mechanics a little bit without really understanding the mechanics and why that would be overpowered. But I think through taking that Constantine vibe, maybe I was Googling a little bit of like how to play Constantine in D&D, and Paladin really stood out as being, this is and then a little bit of the dark and the tragic story. He maybe doesn't have or value his own life as much as he should. He's got this end goal in mind and solve that end goal, and even if he dies trying, that's okay. And maybe and that's what it sort of was interesting to me. The dad chat in the last episode was at odds with how I'd originally envisaged Claymore, as I could die along this journey. Everyone else is expendable along the, like, furthering my character's storyline. And I think as we've got to know people, it's like, no, you give a damn about these people. And maybe it's the lay on hands piece going, I can bring you back. You're not just expendable. I can be the paramedic that gets people up and on their feet again. The fact that he would go and bring people back like that, or give them a little bit of extra health, was just an element of care that wasn't in his original backstory.
Does it fit? Does that kind of profile still fit his like ideals, bonds, and flaws and stuff like that?
You know what? I'd actually have to look them up. So he is a little bit single-minded, but I haven't committed the ideals, bonds, and flaws. It is a little bit of this dark entity took his sister a long, long time ago, and now anything evil needs to be banished. And while this journey is very much a straight line between where we are now and point B being that's the end game, he wants that to be as straight a line as possible. Anything dark or evil along that sort of path, we're looking at getting rid of that.
So hang on, it sounds like Clay started out wanting to, charging to pretty much any battle he could, and now he's like, hang on a second everyone, let's reel that back in for a moment and think about what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Oh, that's showing some maturity for Clay.
Well, it's evolved in just a way I wasn't expecting it to go. But yeah, back to the session 0 question, that was the intent, was this quasi-Constantine character, this little bit dark but wholly on a journey to just destroy evil. And for now, and for the good of the party, he's allied himself with a bunch of adventurers with some skills that could pay off.
If I think back to at least what I can remember of it, what I think is session 0, our first session at Game Traders, I want to say. I know I came to there with knowing the character that I wanted to play, understanding her backstory, at least the skeleton of it, having not rolled for stats, having pretty much no idea how to manage a character sheet on paper or at all. So I know our DM Doom was quite really patient because he had a whole bunch of newbies with him. And I just remember being there's so much chaos at the table, but no one getting upset with each other, right? It was all just, everyone's quite patient, we're all in this together. And something I found really, really cool was that those that had experience were really, really willing to get in and help those that were really new, patiently and just explain stuff.
I especially remember Dan being all over it. And Nick as well.
Yep.
The guys that have played for a while, and it was okay. This is how this works. Then you add your proficiency, then this, and I think, that I forget who they spent time with, but I really remember that being done. I'm trying to remember if at that point I'd actually rolled Clay's stats, or if I was simply porting them from like this other game that I'd attempted to do. At the end of the day, I think I went and redid Clay's stats because I picked up on something I'd done wrong by listening to the others.
And now you hear someone say, roll 4d6, keep best 3. You're like, oh yeah, I know what that means. That's how you roll stats.
Exactly. Yeah.
I hope that's right.
I must admit, for a lot of the arena matches, I'm simply doing the point buy option.
Yeah.
So rather than rolling, it's more the standard array and standard array or point buy.
Point buy is where you can go up to a certain amount and you can put some here and some there, but there's a maximum number of additional points you can throw at some base numbers, I think.
You can basically get 15 as the highest, I think. So
Something
it's
like that, yeah.
point buy is what I'm doing for a lot of the let's churn out a character for arena mode.
Well,
Just so you can manipulate it enough to be like, I want it to be effective for this one shot.
That's a good segue into the next question we had is managing character sheets. I know you're all over D&D Beyond and the Roll20.
I'm a walking advertisement for D&D Beyond.
So, but you've tried Roll20 as well?
Yeah, so the initial session that I had with non-Robin, it was the crash course with Roll20. And I remember completely being out of my depth with that role. I love Roll20 for the fact that it's allowing us to do the virtual play, but it is not intuitive about a lot of its features, actually, like where it hides stuff, how you edit stuff. That might just be me, but Roll20 is good at a couple of things. It's not good at a bunch of other stuff. And managing your character sheet is right down that list. Or at least this is nearly a year ago in terms of playing this online and being flummoxed by it. And admittedly, at the time, I was building that Claymore character that I want all of this magical shit that I don't necessarily haven't earned it. I'm just simply adding it from an inventory list. Like, that sounds cool. But for now that we've got into the arena modes in particular, I've been leaning very heavily on D&D Beyond for the sort of wizard path, how to build the character. So you're choosing races, you're choosing classes. It throws up all the options at you, gets you to pick it. It's got the descriptions. It's very difficult to make a mistake in D&D Beyond. And I know for people that it doesn't necessarily have all the options that they want to play. But for example, I think for Claymore, his background is Haunted One. Again, just comes from the actual backstory, and then found out about Haunted One, which is a Curse of Strahd feature. But it was like a $2 purchase to unlock that little snippet of content. So I'm in that regard, I don't mind the little microtransaction model of D&D Beyond. You want that thing? Okay, let's build what you need. And at the end of the day, I think if you spent enough on the Curse of Strahd, many bits and pieces, you ultimately, like, they're deducting it from the cost of the Curse of Strahd book. So a lot of the Tabaxi stuff, what we've got potentially coming for homebrew, Tabaxi, swashbuckler background, like, they're all, it was about $5 worth of, these are the things I want, and I can buy them and pull them directly into D&D Beyond, and I now own them. That from there, it's a little bit like paint by numbers.
What do you mean?
As in, you're following the wizard
blanks,
in terms of his,
follow the bouncing ball,
and then you've got a fully clickable character sheet, and with the Beyond 20 plugin, I think for Chrome, you can have Roll20 open. You have Roll20 open. You have D&D Beyond. You're literally clicking your character sheet for, okay, I roll initiative, and it's sending the roll into Roll20.
Have you
with all the commentary?
Have you switched on the Roll20 dice as well? Does it roll the same thing? It could, surely.
No, it doesn't. I've occasionally misclicked it, and it drops some dice into D&D Beyond, and I ignore that. The aim is the dice have to land into Roll20. That's the dice I take.
Yeah. There's a question in the chat for you, Mark. Like, when you acquire a homebrew item or something, how do you manage that in D&D Beyond?
It is a little fiddly. So I'm trying to think which one of the characters scored himself a poison. It must be Gary. Because I think one of our homebrew rules is we can bring any character to the arena. But if you win, generally the winner and the MVP get some nice little perk. And that perk tends to flow into our Acquisitions Incorporated game. But it does mean that you are bringing often like some claw of a manticore or something. It's got some poison charges. Like, yeah, there is some custom stuff that you can do. And you can say like what sort of damage it does. It was mainly managing modifiers on like a dagger or something. That was just a bit finicky. The other thing I don't like in terms of D&D Beyond that it doesn't articulate well is the HP on level up.
Yes, I agree.
So that I've often found myself needing to sort of like recalculate what my HP should be. I understand it better now, but I think for quite a while, Claymore was fighting underweight because I was just overriding some HP. And once the mechanics sank in, I'm like, okay, I should just like re-roll the health for up to level 5 now. So I'll take that the base score, and then here's all the incremental ones, and that's now the new permanent score. Whereas it was mixing up a little bit.
When we first started,
what do you end up using?
Yeah, when we first started, I think I wrote everything on a bit of paper. I'm like, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to be sitting there trying to read my scroll, trying to write at a rapid pace, rub it out, change it, write it again. I'm going to wear holes through this thing in no time. So I was using D&D Beyond on an iPad when we were in real life, which was fine. That worked fine. I was doing the same thing as you for my Ren character. I microtransactioned like the background and a couple of other things. When we switched to using Roll20, I ported everything across, and I agree the character sheet experience in Roll20 is nowhere near as nice as D&D Beyond.
Just trying to get a picture into it, for crying out loud. It was a nightmare. And then
the learning curve I had with Roll20 was that, yes, everything on there is clickable and does exactly what you want it to do. When I struggled to try and figure out how to create the character and then level up, and then there's little hidden screens you can get into which have all like the configuration variable names and so many fields. Just like, whoa, if I touch anything here, it's going to break, or I'm going to die.
Ren goes nuclear.
Yes, pretty much. But having said that, I've tried both. I've stuck with Roll20 character sheets for now, just because I don't want to be porting back and forth. But anytime we do an arena or something like that, I'll go and pretty much just generate a random character in D&D Beyond, which brilliant. It's just so good for just, okay, I need a character. There it is, character sheet's ready to go. I was, for a little while there, copying the stats across, but the last couple of ones, just using the Beyond 20 plugin just made it so much easier, right? It's just a matter of knowing where to click, and because I think using the plugin, you've got the options for the character sheet you're attached to in Roll20. You've got all the character sheet in D&D Beyond, and then you've got the plugin options. And my head couldn't manage that many options.
So I don't touch any of the plugin options, and I don't touch any of the character stuff in Roll20. You just have to understand that basically, for whatever game you're playing, you have a token. And if you place that token on the map, you drag it around, the D&D Beyond site will just imbue that token with this is the character sheet. This is everything that this character can do. So basically, just sending all those roles and into the chat. It's sending the roles, it's sending the description of the spell, saves, blah blah blah. Whereas I think even for the guys that do it entirely in Roll20, you're having to manually type a lot of this is what the spell does and how it works. And
yeah, that's true, because you haven't got the ability to do microtransactions and just add them in. Well, sorry, you can, but you just don't. And I don't know why. In D&D Beyond, it's like you're kind of guided down the path of like, you know what, $2, I'll just make it happen. But I think in Roll20, you've got to go and buy the whole module or whole book content to get those things. It has all the standard resource document properties in there out of the box. But that's why you spend, anything that's out of like Xanathar's or Volo or whatever else, you sit in there keying in things, which you're right, the descriptions are then something like does a lot of damage, or really, really basic things that people are trying to put these things in so fast.
What I should add, another perk for D&D Beyond, because apparently I'm sponsored by D&D Beyond, and yeah, where's my check, please? Thank you. I didn't realize I gained some feature as part of Claymore leveling up to level 5 until it sort of appeared on the character sheet. So I think the thing that if you're manually doing this, it's a massive rules book. It is so easy to overlook one little element. So by having the wizard element to this, it was, by wizard I mean like a walkthrough. Not I cast Fireball. I cast Sexy Fireball.
I challenge you on that a little bit, because I was of the same opinion in that, yes, D&D Beyond just does all these things for you. I found that with Roll20, with the level up, there's a level up wizard which walks you through the same steps as D&D Beyond, basically, like your stats, any extra spells, gives you descriptions. It does it. I agree, it's not as clean or as nice, and adding custom things in is clunky, but it can be done. It's not all thousands of fields.
I never persisted with a level up. I think so. I've never had I've never had the Roll20 level up experience.
Fair enough.
But for me, yeah, it was the nudge that, hey, you're a paladin at this level, you gain this, and it just pretty much put it out there. I'm like, ooh, awesome. The other thing is pretty character sheets.
Oh yes, printing those out is very nice as the PDF comes out. Very
highlighting them. These are all my interesting features. The other thing, my little hack for Claymore, and I think it maybe becomes a little bit more unwieldy as you grow up, as you go up in levels, and as you gain more spell slots and things you can do. But I just did a Word document of.
Oh my god.
These are the most, basically there's columns. So this is my Claymore cheat sheet.
Can't see you disappear.
It's nice just having all those options laid out for you like that. Whereas when it's on a character sheet, it's a little bit more garbled. And I tried to format it as well, just highlight it so you can read across the top. This is the name of the spell. Concentration, 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 concentration. So I know that at any point in time, I can only have one of these up.
That sounds pretty awesome, Mark. Can you take a photo or a screenshot or something like that and we'll stick it in our Discord just to share with others what it looks like? Not have to do it right now, but whenever.
Yeah.
There is a.
I mean, I do have some spell cards as well. I think this was given to me by Dave. The only thing I found about these is, again, just you're flicking through cards at that point.
But
so I'm not finding that as effective.
But I was thinking about getting the cards also, because whatever you've got prepared, you basically can just lay out in front of you, right? And all the other ones just disappear. But you've got that on a bit of paper. Same difference, right?
Yeah. What I would plan on doing, and I just never got around to doing it, was buying a folder with card slots, so that you would have an index of these are all my level 1s I could prepare, these are all my level 2s, and then your front page of the folder, this is everything I've got prepared, and I'm just hot swapping them out as I need be. And then you could do some interesting stuff, like these are all the level 1s, these are concentration, blah, blah, blah. So that was a thought. We just never got around to it when it came to physical play. I suspect I'll take that.
We have a question in the chat which I think is timely, given. Hey?
I've still got my Claymore Mini and I've barely used it.
Oh no, right? I've got these. I got my wife to paint all these minis, and they're sitting there just waiting to be used. Oh, it's devastating.
Coronavirus can just feck right off, and we'll all get together.
Yeah. Which is why we need to do the fundraiser for Beyond Blue, just so we can get through this nightmare of not using tokens. A question came in on the chat from Dave. What are your thoughts on yellow cards and stuff like that in game? I've seen this done before. I've seen it done on a stream I was watching, where, and they sent me a link to where it all is described. Basically, you've got green, yellow, and red cards, and if something is happening in the session that you really enjoy, you want it to keep going further down that track, you can hold up a green card so that others on the screen can see it, which is like, this is really good, I'm really interested in this. A yellow card has a bit more of, not sure about this, change it up, maybe not. Red card is, I'm not liking where this is going. What are your thoughts on that kind of comfort factor being played into this?
I've typically seen that referenced. I was trying to remember. Like, I think it would be a lot of groups that may have LGBTI people playing, and or may have had an abusive past or something like that. And somewhere in this story, they legitimately aren't liking or enjoying part of this experience. It might be a trigger. It might be, for someone that might have some sort of trigger to their mental health. That's an excellent idea of being able to say, look, I'm really not comfortable with the way that this storyline is playing out. I'd be all for that. I'd hope that as a team, I just hope that we would be able to rein it in before that.
Yes. We don't want things to get too bonkers.
No. And most of the times that we've just gone, that's a yellow card, that's a red card, that's just... It's been offensive humour, but I'm hoping like it's not been in a way that would really, really offend someone.
I agree.
So we've only it's been a joking thing. It's been more of the sporting reference, the you committed a foul kind of thing, ha ha. But I don't think we would ever. I hope that we would never ever need the card system as a way of saying I don't feel safe, because that if we're robbing someone's fun in that regard, then we're not playing right.
I agree. I think that given we've already been together for 9 months doing this, we kind of know what to expect. But talking about session zeros earlier, I think that's a great thing to introduce to a session zero, especially if you're meeting with a new group for the first time. Like, what's the rules here? How do you set that, like the boundaries? And if you can't, because you can't, this kind of thing, at least you can put those flags up to say, you know what, this is going in a direction I'm not comfortable with. But yeah, I think I've seen it played it, and I haven't seen it personally, but I've seen it referred to at cons where people have joined a random table. They might not know the first thing about who they're playing with, and all it takes is someone to run their mouth, and
someone might have a really poor experience or be really hurt by that. That absolutely love the idea of a red, yellow, green set of cards to say, look, I'm really not enjoying this, or this is making me uncomfortable. I'm less keen on the green. The green is, I think you get the vibe that if everyone's enjoying it and into it, you run with it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a general call out, guys. When you're playing, just be respectful to people. There is a degree, and I think this will be a degree of any game like this. There will always be a degree of the meta chat, the humor, the banter. Just don't push it, right? Don't push the buttons to the point that someone no longer feels comfortable and wants to leave.
I think the rule of thumb I try to play by is your character can be an absolute dick, but don't let that transcend into the real world.
Yeah.
All right.
And if you and if your character's being a dick in that regard, like, there's got to be the story element to it.
Yes, there'll be a reason.
It's a part of something, right? Yeah. I hope we're considered more of a tolerant group, and it's just smack talk and rebel rousing kind of thing.
All right, I agree. Let's move on to looking ahead at next session. What's coming up? Wow, it's been a pretty epic chat so far, Mark, I must say. Covered a lot of ground.
I haven't done one of this before.
Yeah,
Bottled
it's
up.
fun, right?
You're dry with it.
All of it out.
Won't get any more out of me for another 9 months.
No, we'll have you back on before then. Tuesday's work. So, if we go back into campaign mode, we have one stone, one eye, 2 more eyes to get. We have 3 leads we can pursue, that being the Harpers, that being the Bregan Darth, and that being Lord Castleinter. Is any others that you can think of that I've missed?
No, I'm less sure about the Harpers, and I'm actually less sure what the Harpers are. I can't remember whose backstory that's playing with, and whether it's a guild, whether it's a family, whether it's a...
I think that's Red Helm's allegiance. We also have the Xantharum.
That's the one. How many people... And look, this is testing the memory. Beowulf has an allegiance, and I thought that was to the Xantharum. Zim's got an allegiance, but I thought that's more of a magic tilt, like a school of magic. But it might also be the Xantharum, because they don't want us to... They want the money to spend on Waterdeep infrastructure and make the world a better place. Don't save the kids.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's an interesting power play. Like, it is weighing... It's weighing on Claymore a little bit. Like, these are 2 kids. It's a lot of money, but the instinct for Claymore is about the kids, and it's about saving them, and that there's been evil done. So that's the magnet. The money's not that big of a factor. But, this is a Dragon Heist story. There's got to be that element to it, right?
Yes.
But I think that, because I'm oblivious to not oblivious, I'm less fussed about the money side of it. I can see the value in the money goes to Waterdeep City. Well, half of it goes to Waterdeep City for bettering it.
Mm-hmm. So, with the 4 threads there, where does Clay think the next best step is?
It's not the Castellanthers. I want them last.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't surprise me that they have it. They have a stone. They are resourceful. They they are resourceful, but it's not been entirely in their favour and they're running out of time. So they haven't been able to get the stone, and whether they could take on Xanathar, probably not. So something tells me they've probably got the wealth and that to be holding on to one, but I don't think you'd approach them, hey, we've got a stone, we've got another eye, we need to find one more eye, because they could be like, thank you very much.
Yep.
We'll take that. That's the spidey senses.
I agree. I think we
leave them last.
That'll be the last one for sure.
And it may get messed.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if you make a deal with the devil at the expense of your kids, this is not a straightforward, let's set them free. These are not good people, as much as they can be. And the only other thread, as I said, is just for me, Bragan Darth. There was that bag, and they've been sprinkled into the story a little bit. They're there for a reason. Where's your money at?
Oh, my brain is struggling to keep up with what groups are doing what and what each one of their agendas are. To be honest, I'm really struggling. I know the Castle Landers. I know who they are and what their story is. The other three, I'm honestly at a bit of a loss as to what their motives are, which is unfortunate because I need to get up to speed on that to make informed decisions so we don't go headlong into another disaster. I would like to... I think it makes sense to go and pursue the Xantarum. We have an inn there with Bear to at least open a few doors or open a few lines of inquiry. If I think that he's with the Xantarum, I could be wrong. And whether they have it or not, I think that's a worthy next step to investigate that. And that might open other doors.
They can find out. To me, they're a solid lead in terms of they're a network, they're a resource. They may not have it, but if anyone could potentially find it through information trafficking, they might. And just quickly, sorry, we got lured to Soraya's villa with the promise of information. Did they just not write it down? Was there info given?
The hint that they had was that the Castlanters might have a stone, an eye. That was what they did.
Okay. Right. Okay. Well, leave them last.
Yeah.
The group agrees to it, but I think you find the one that you don't know about.
Yeah. So I think if we get to the Xantarum, the king should be able to walk in there, no dramas. And,
if he doesn't shoot the place up first.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Well, let's see if the rest of the party agrees.
We may be looking at the new Xanathar. We may lose Rod Beowulf to I'm the king of the castle.
Oh man.
Waterdeep's #1 beholder flat.
A shirt coming soon.
Yeah. TM.
So yeah, that's what. And who, if Bear takes on the Xantarum, that could open up a bit more of his backstory too.
Yeah.
Even though it seems like Bear's backstory is just, I want to go smash stuff. But,
I think he's pursuing his own notoriety and fame. And yeah, certainly doing stuff for the Xantarum could get him up the ladder a little bit. Yeah. I'm very, very conscious that we have a clock ticking with kiddos, and I don't think there's heaps of time remaining. We're talking, their days are numbered. Days are certainly numbered. So we've got to pursue these leads pretty quickly.
We do. We really do.
And then look, at the end of the day, we've got to get those up. We've got to get another eye, followed by another eye, find the dragon cache. I'm a little worried that they call it the Waterdeep Dragon Heist for a reason.
Yep.
And then off the back of that, wrap up that child storyline, and then it becomes a case of, if we have lots of money left over, what are we doing with it? Are we investing in the Winchester? And does it then allow us, there's a bunch of threads in play now that people can go, here are the obvious ways that I start to go on my next set of the backstory campaign.
Yeah.
I've certainly been feeding Robin where the links that I can see potentially for Claymore. I think if we were planning this over a Critical Role style number of years, you'd take the long meandering journey, and you would have a lot of self revelations along the way. The intent with this one is that we wrap it at some point, and I think we wrap it respectfully enough that we can touch on those backstories that people have put the time and effort into it. There is a good story there. Yeah. So pull on those threads, see where it would go, and we may need to play with things in a way of how we tell that story, depending on how we get to how quickly we're headed into homebrew world.
Well, was it your suggestion or somebody else's, the flash forward type thing?
I think someone suggested flash forward, and then I was thinking that there could be a Marvel style time stone.
Yes, that's the one. Yes.
Or we see a clairvoyant style person, and through the eyes of the clairvoyant, we're able to fast forward the years, and basically it's maybe the 3-part one shot.
Yeah.
That each story may need enough of the backgrounding again, because you need that context about why this person's story is important. You may then need the interim battle. You've got to have a little bit of drama, and then the big bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Each story, maybe that's again a little bit more applicable to Claymore. That's how I see that potentially playing out. I could stretch that out, but then it starts to be a bit greedy.
I have one last question for you, Mark and or Clay, before we wrap up for the evening. Does Clay think his sister is still alive?
Yes. And it was only... I want to say we'll see. I'm not going to spoil that. In that, okay. I think where my head's at in telling that condensed story for how how Claymore's art comes to an end. I've fed through some ideas about how that might play out. That I can see that being twisted,
mm-hmm.
or used as a good basis on which to build something else.
Yeah.
So I don't want to. He feels it, yes. Story-wise.
All right, we're gonna leave the chat on that. A massive cliffhanger. And as the chat says, is Claymore the big bad? We'll find out one day. Yeah.
Let's say I was researching a not fallen paladin. What happens when a paladin breaks their oath as an option. I will put it out there that option is on the cards in terms of where a paladin can go. Right now, you take an oath. I think you take it at level 3. There's an oath of vengeance is Claymore's chosen path. Oath of Devotion, Oath of something. They've all got their own little variants. Vengeance has a bunch of smite shit and like to whack stuff. It aligns nicely to the I banish evil. But I think any of those paladin backgrounds can drift towards a fallen member of the order who, for them, power becomes too much of a temptation. I hope that's not a thing for Claymore. That's not. But, there are some story threads there that I see that as a set of options.
Yeah, I think there's lots of potential there. I'm excited to explore it. We are going to wrap up there, folks. Thanks for watching. As always, if you've got any questions, want to reach out to us, we can be reached on our Discord, which is hitting the chat. We can also be reached on our socials, which you can find links from our website, ragingrolls.com. Don't forget also, we are doing a lot for Beyond Blue for October, Mental Health Awareness Month. Lots of things happening there. Stay tuned to our socials and our Discord for more details. But yeah, thanks for watching, Mark.
Pray that it rains 20s and 1s.
Yes, 20s and 1s for October. That's what we want.
Plenty of 20s.
Send all the 20s our way.
But
all right, guys.
Happy with a 1 as well. It takes at least it's not as much of a kick in the guts if you know that that's $20 going to a good cause.
Every natural 1 is a good natural 1 in October.
Exactly. Yeah. Stings a little less.
All right. Take care, everyone. We'll see you
Good chat,
on
guys.
tomorrow. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.